What a performance tonight from Tobias Harris and the Philadelphia 76ers as they snapped their three-game skid at home over the Sacramento Kings. A lot to talk about on this Friday night. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers post-game show alongside my partner, Derek Bodner. I'm Devon Givens, Bree producing, Kyle Neubeck from South Philly a little bit later after the press conferences and the conversations he has in the locker room. A nice win to break and snap again in their losing skid and pick up their 24th win of the campaign. We get on Tobias Harris quite a bit. We praised him after his nice stretch of good games, the 33 that he had in the one win, following up with 27, 23, staying in the 20s there as they picked up their wins. And he struggled a bit. Tonight, Derek, more of this, please, as he finishes with a season-high 37 and a phenomenal performance from Harris.
Yeah, it really was. And I thought he came out and he made his first imprint of the game defensively. Nick Nurse made a little bit of an adjustment, put Harris on Sabonis there to start the game. I thought he did a good job standing him up in the post, forced a couple of turnovers early, and then he started attacking inside. And Harris was aggressive in the mid post. He was aggressive attacking off the dribble. That opened up his three-point shot eventually. It was just one of the best overall all-around performances we've seen from Tobias Harris now in 5 years with the Sixers. And it came in a pretty big spot. You know, they're playing, first of all, a good team.
Yep.
In the Sacramento Kings, a game that they really needed to win to break that 3-game losing streak. A game that you would like to start treading water here without Joel Embiid. Hopefully he will be back soon, but you really just needed a good pick-me-up win against a quality team to make yourself feel better about the team after a couple of really frustrating losses. So I think it was a real big spot for him. It was great to see him come through like this. I'd love to see it more often. I think we all understand that there is going to be a little bit of a roller coaster with Tobias. We are in one of the upswings, and I will take it because they needed it in this spot.
Yeah, this was one of his more complete games, as Derek laid it out. Not only offensively with the 37, again, a season high, but the defense that he played on the other end. We talked about his 32 points on Wednesday in the loss to the Atlanta Hawks. Had he played this type of defense against the Atlanta Hawks, that would be 2 consecutive games where we were sitting here talking about how good he was defensively as well, because as Derek talked about with that defensive switch that Nick Nurse and his staff made, putting him on Sabonis, he immediately, first of all, he wasn't going for the ball fakes. He held his ground. He stayed true to the floor for where he was. He stayed in front of his man. He even gambled a few times and reached in, knocked the ball loose from Sabonis, allowing them to get out in transition because the guards were speedy with Melton and Maxey and Beverly. We'll get to his performance tonight. Just knocking the ball out of his hands, allowing them to get out in transition and get some open floor opportunities. Tobias Harris was very good because even with the switching of getting him off of Sabonis, there were the closeouts on the perimeter. Yep. There were the sliding over and making sure that he did all the right things with his adjustment and helping out his teammates to slide over and cut off the pathway of De'Aaron Fox or one of the other guards, preventing them from getting to the basket and getting a much better shot. And we didn't hear from Harrison Barnes this evening, except for that one, I guess really a bogus call on the offensive foul on Mo Bamba. We'll get to him later also for one of his better games in a Sixer uniform as well. So Tobias Harris, again, talk about him a lot, get on him quite a bit. He did everything tonight for the 76ers. So much so when we talk about him, and I remember one point when we were speaking about him calling for the ball, taking it out of Embiid and Maxey's hands. This was the type of performance. And I don't mean to drop 37. It's more of the respect that he's going to garner and the attention that he's going to garner from the defense if he's out there showing his offensive performance like that. If he does that, as Derek talked about, driving to the basket aggressively, finishing at the rim, pull-up jump shots the same way. The three-point shooting where Kyle and Derek talk about it often, where it's just the volume of three-point shots that he gets up and the fact that he is 6'9" and can shoot over many of his defenders. Whenever he does that, that puts a lot of pressure on the defense the other way. That sure, maybe they will say, I will give Tobias Harris that because I'm taking away Maxey and Embiid from being the all-star caliber players that they are. However, if we are to believe and think that he is a very good professional level scorer, not into the tune of Kevin Durant and Carmelo Anthony like we talk about, but still a professional scorer where he's worthy of 18 to 20 a night. where you have to defend him and defend him in a way that it's not just, oh, let him go off because I'm holding these other two down. No, it's the impact of his 20 or 25, whatever it might be throughout a game where we ask for that aggressiveness, that confidence out there on the floor any given night to go along with the two All-Stars. This is what we're talking about. And I don't think it's too much to ask of any of us, any of you in the chat, any of the fans out there to ask this of Tobias Harris. Are there enough basketballs to go around for three of these players to do what they do on any given night? Absolutely. Especially when you know as a teammate, they trust from seeing you do what you're doing to give you the ball back whenever you pass it to them and demand it back because you're putting on a performance like that.
Yeah, it was just all around great. Like, I think he had ended up with 6 free throw attempts on the night. I think all 6 of them came in the first quarter. It was a sign that he was attacking early on. And when he's attacking early on, it just makes defenders a little more hesitant to close out. He then used that space and that time to launch some quick threes, including a couple of quick threes at the end. That was fine. He was going for his 40. That would have been a career high.
Game was already in hand.
Go for it, man. When Ferk's sitting there at the scorer's table and you know you're not getting back in, launch away. But he was like, I thought the drives early set up the long range shots. I thought he did a good job selectively attacking in that mid post. And defensively, like you mentioned, it wasn't just the fact that, because we've seen him, body up bigger defenders in the past, most famously Marc Gasol in the playoffs, but he's done that throughout his career. But he made good reads, like good closeouts. He was closing out under control, something he doesn't always do. It was just a really good all-around performance, and the kind of performance that really makes you frustrated for the other 50% of the games where this is not the version that we get. Like just the quick drives, the quick attacks, the not letting defenders close out on him, attacking the space that he has available to him. There's so many times where he just leaves that space and lets it evaporate. And it seemed like he came out and he knew exactly what he needed to do.
Yep.
He knew the role he had to play. He knew how he had to attack him. He knew this was a team in the Kings who struggled to defend bigger forwards. And he just went to work. And it really just, like, when he gets in his head and he hesitates, it just makes it so frustrating because you know he's capable of this. You know he can do this. And like I said, there are no must-win games, especially for a top 3 seed in January. But this is a real good win to pick up so you can feel a little bit better about yourself. Hopefully get the big guy back here soon, possibly on Monday. And to come in there having sort of like vanquish some of those demons from the 3-game losing streak. It was a real big spot.
Yeah, and great point about the how he shot those 3-pointers early on, because I thought that after Batum made his, and then you saw Harris knock down his shot, and it was quick, Derek. He did not hesitate whatsoever. And when we talk about the confidence, even in the past when Rivers would say, I want him to stop thinking and just go and just play. And that's exactly what he did tonight. Even later on in the game, folks, I know you saw it too, because we all talk with you and you see what we see also. And that is, he had the one offensive rebound, kept the ball high, didn't hesitate, didn't look to pass it to anybody else to reset things. He just went back up and understood that this was mine. This is my game. I got this, and I'm going right back up because these guys have not stopped me all evening long. There's a thing about getting into a rhythm when you play with Joel Embiid, and I understand that so much runs through him, but it's not as if the 24-second shot clock, he's holding it for the entire 24. The same with Tyrese Maxey. The ball swings, and we see Harris give the ball up quite often because something happens. It stops him from his rhythm, and then let me retreat and give it back to my teammates and allow them to do something. This is where we talk about this team is good enough to sometimes where you have a bad possession where you can get through that. You can get by that as long as the team play is going and everybody is feeling good and confident about what they're doing with whatever the play call is and seeing what you're doing. And that's what you want to see. And when he was rolling, and I mean dribble pull-ups on the back down, the 3-point shooting, driving to the basket, the 2-and-1s that he had in the second quarter back-to-back where one was a dunk. And how often do we see him maybe try to float the ball off the backboard a little bit and a little too finesse there, where we need him to see we need to see him with a little more power there, with that power game going to the basket, because guys are going to try to attempt to block and prevent you from getting that finish at the rim. That's what you want to see from him. And as Derek pointed out, this is where the frustration lies. I'm not trying to go there because this was such a great performance. Again, arguably his best in the Sixers uniform, most complete. overall. His passing was good, even though the assist numbers weren't high. He made the correct passes. This is what you want to see when the complete team is back. And when you have this type of performance, quite honestly, sure, we are going to talk about different players that they need to maybe take a look at the trade deadline and certainly in the offseason, because Harris is going to be a free agent. But when you play like that, that takes him away from any conversation about being included in any kind of deals if that mindset is there all of the time. We think we know what it is. It's still pretty much a guessing game because we're not out there on the floor and we don't talk to him about it as much. But that's what you want to see when you're out there. That's the compliment to the other two.
Yeah, and look, is he going to get as many shots when Joel Embiid comes back? No, of course not. He's not going to get 25 looks at the rim. He's probably not going to get the free throw line 6 times. But he is going to get space. And like I said, there's so many times where he just lets space evaporate because of indecision. He will have more space when Joel Embiid comes back. If he's just aggressive attacking that space, he will be a contributor regardless of whether Embiid is on the floor or not. It might not be a 37-point game every time. It certainly won't be. But he has opportunities that he lets go by, and I just want to see him attack this. He was fantastic. And like you mentioned, 2 good offensive games in a row, struggled defensively against the Hawks. He was so much better on that side of the floor tonight. It really was night and day.
And I want to know, as we discuss it, because we won't get the answer since we're not in the arena, but I want to know what was the difference, because we're talking a much better offensive team. Atlanta's a good offensive team, but the Kings are a much better offensive team.
Yeah.
And was it being on the road? It couldn't be, because offensively he was really good with the 32. And it just, the mindset of were you thinking too much? Were your feet just planted to the floor with your defensive assignment, where you weren't as confident against those players where you were tonight against these players? And you were going against an all-star in Sabonis with a lot of girth down there that's going to try to bang and put his shoulder into your chest to create some space for him to get his jump hook or his ball fake and get you off the floor and pick up a personal foul to get you off of him. I can't explain what the difference was in the defensive performances from Wednesday to tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think this is the type of matchup where, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we've seen Tobias Harris defend up position, defend bigger players, do that successfully. I think he's comfortable doing that. The Hawks just put you in so much space. And I think sometimes, especially when Tobias, like I said, is slow in his decision-making, being in space like that defensively can bring out his worst instincts. So trying to stand up Sabonis, even though it is maybe a tougher matchup than you, it's a real tough matchup. Sabonis is an incredible offensive player, but it's one that I think Tobias is comfortable with. But like you mentioned, even, putting that aside, he defended in space better today than he did against the Hawks. He made reads and decisions better. It was just a night where he came out and was firing on all cylinders on both sides of the court. Why it doesn't happen more often, if I could explain that, I'd probably be working for an NBA team and making a heck of a lot more money.
The 2-minute warning says, I've always thought that they should get Harris going at the beginning of the game. It would only help us. That's Al on the chat. Al, appreciate it. We see everybody in there. We'll get to some of your comments there. And yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, if you watch the pattern going all the way back to Brett Brown through Doc Rivers and certainly now with Nick Nurse, we've seen them with different starts to the game where they get others involved, where the first shot doesn't always go to Joel Embiid, the first touch, and he's looking for that shot. It will go to Maxey. You'll get Nick Batum. Same for Harris and Melton in that starting unit, where they will, in fact, go at it first early on to get it going. But then if there are not enough touches for Embiid, we know it'll go Embiid again next down in the floor. A couple of possessions in a row, it will go to Embiid. That's typically how it goes. But I understand your point, Al, where certain players, you look at them and say, maybe we should get them going a little bit earlier, making sure they have a little bit of confidence, feel like they're involved in the game, where they're not in the second quarter starting to fall back a little bit because they feel like they're not a part of the offense on the other end while giving the work on the defensive side. And
I will say, before we get to the break, 2 things that the Kings did here that I think probably made the night a little bit easier for Tobias. First of all, they missed a ton of outshots.
Yes, they did.
8 for 38 from 3. This is a team that's a good shooting three-point shooting team on the season, shooting a little over 37%. And I think they're third in 3-point attempts. They get shots up, and they typically do a pretty good job of making it. To miss that many shots gave the Sixers a lot of long rebounds. Sixers did a good job pushing it. And like we mentioned all year, Tobias is better when he's able to push it in early offense and attack an unset defense. And also, the Kings just turning the ball over 16 times. That number sounds low. I think it was at like 10 or 12 in the first half. The best Sixers outlet pass was typically a kick-out pass from the Kings. And again, when you can get out there and attack not only in transition, but in early offense, I just think it helps Tobias as much as just about anyone because he is much more confident when there's not that second line of defense back there to rotate over and help.
No, just a really good performance overall. We'll get to Tyrese Maxey. Pretty good floor game overall. Some questions about him going to the rim and trying to finish amongst those trees, which we've seen, not getting the calls that he thinks and the coaching staff also believes he's deserving of. We'll get to the team defense because it was really good, despite the fact that there was some good looks by the Kings and they missed them. Part of it was the team defense overall. Kyle Neubeck a little bit later, but I got to tell you, when we speak of Kyle, one of his favorite things is, of course, those bagels from the one and only Bagels & Co. Brooklyn-style bagels made in Philly. And they're fantastic.
It's like a seagull, but in the bay.
Yeah.
Bagel.
Do we need to say it like Kyle when we do these reads? Bagels. And huge bagels, biggest bagels in Philly. And they're, again, very, very large. Brooklyn, New York, New Jersey style. Have a large variety. Usually have 15 to 20 different types to choose from daily. During the holidays, they had the Christmas-flavored bagel on display for the Xmas season. They had them on display when we were at Reading Terminal. Had a chance to see them all lined up on that big, giant plate of bagels that they had there with the many, many cream cheese variety. 30 different flavors of cream cheese for you to spread all over. Of course, they had various sports teams in Philly and Florida as well whenever they can expand. For instance, when we have the Birds game on Monday, things are going well for the postseason, maybe, hopefully. Well, they'll have an Eagles cream cheese as well as the 76ers cream cheese as well. They did some Phillies cream cheese during the playoff run. So make sure you go check them out. An affordable brand. You get a lot of food, a lot of good food for cheap. And in today's inflationary world, they think, of course, and we agree, Bagels & Co., that cheap is key. I agree. I like paying less. So make sure you go there. They debated raising the prices, but they've just kept it right where it is because the people keep coming back and they appreciate the fact that those are the prices. Why go to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks for $7 like those places when you can get a great product right there at Bagels & Co. No need to go there. For the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, head to the Bagels & Co. Of course, www.bagelsandco.com/store-locator/ to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you.
Also want to tell you about Rocket Money. We all want to make sure that you get the most out of your money and that you're not wasting money on unnecessary subscriptions. As I always mention, this is a pretty easy product to endorse because we do believe that you will end up saving money with Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. And I can tell you, I am definitely saving money after using Rocket Money. Found more than one subscription that I didn't even know I had. It truly happens.
I need to check now.
You really do. It's really amazing. Anyway, you can see all of your subscriptions in one place. And if you see something you don't want, you can cancel it with a tap and you never have to get on the phone with customer service. They'll even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year, with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. It's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY. And then you can take that money that you save with Rocket Money, come see us at our tailgate. 7:45 Monday at Wicked Wolf, 12th and Chestnut. Devon and I will both be there. Stop on by, say hi, watch the birds. Things go sideways. You can have a beverage or two to maybe help smooth that one over. I am really looking forward to it.
And some good food. I'm looking forward to the food. Bree said the food is good. Yeah. So
no, I'm looking forward to the whole freaking thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's playoff football, number one.
And look, I'm going to need an adult beverage here to calm my nerves because you know what? At the beginning of the week, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. The Eagles right now do not deserve from me to be anxious about this game. They do not deserve for me to really get my hopes up. Like, they just don't deserve it. But here I am, as bad as they've been. Bucks are so bad, man. They got a shot. Look, they got a shot. You win a game. Next thing you know, anything can happen in football. I'll talk myself into it.
Look, on Monday, we have a 1 o'clock game, Martin Luther King game. The Sixers play on Monday, 1 o'clock, and they will be hosting the Houston Rockets. So we'll have our pregame show after the game. So 3:30, 3:40, somewhere around there, 3:45, whatever it might be. You know you're going to get a little pregame talk from us in the postgame about how the Birds need to beat the Bucks, because they just scored, Derek, 9 points against the Carolina Panthers in the finale.
Oh, they're not a good team.
They had a chance to do what they needed to do against them to avoid, anything from the Saints and the Falcons in that game. They better beat this team.
Yeah.
As much as we talk about them with the frustration and all with this Eagles team, they do have a good matchup.
Oh, for sure.
They have a good matchup.
If this was a month and a half ago, you'd be talking like, 37-10? Like, you'd be completely confident. The way that this has turned in a matter of a month and a half is just wild. Yeah. And they don't deserve us to be confident. They don't really deserve our emotional investment that I have in them, but I can't get rid of. But it is what it is. And even though they're coming in there as limping can be, they have a chance because their team's not that great.
And one game at a time.
Yep.
One game at a time. Well, one game at a time for the Sixers, especially after snapping the 3-game skid. Let's get to a couple of our super chats, and we have a few of them to get to. We'll start off with Bernard jumping in here in the super chat. And Bernard says, for the viewers of the pod that doubt Maxey is a number 2, I don't know what he is, but he is something in all caps. Open the floor for the whole team tonight. Bernard, thank you. Well, for us, we've talked about him as a number 2. Bernard agrees with us. Many of the folks in the chat and the viewers overall have said the same. Just want an extra piece out there for the second half of the season, for sure, to make you feel more comfortable about them in their quest as a contender in the East, and certainly a contender in the entire league going for a championship. But he definitely opened the floor tonight. I thought his floor game, his assist numbers weren't necessarily high, but
he put a lot of pressure on the rim.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And he was frustrated, Derek. He and the coaching staff
should have been
going up chest to chest with those guys at the rim. And I think he only got, really, again, at the rim, probably 2 calls.
Yeah. No, I mean, he only ended up with 6 free throws on a night. And he, like I said, he was putting pressure on the rim, especially after the first quarter. He struggled a little bit. Second quarter, he was real good. After that, I felt like he was getting to his spots and he just wasn't getting any calls. And sometimes I feel like that happens because he, shies away from contact, or he puts so much emphasis on trying to get those acrobatic finishes, get himself in position to do that. No, I thought he was taking it pretty strong to the rim. I thought he should have gotten more calls for sure. He could have had 25 tonight just by having a better whistle.
I agree. And another super chat from Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats. Davon says, all right, 3-block stat line for Maxey tells how the team defended. We appreciate the super chat. Davon, it was actually 3 steals and 2 blocks for Maxey. But to your point, look at the activity that he was giving on the defensive end. And as he was doing that, first of all, Tobias Harris again with a couple of good interior defensive plays on his man. They were helping up. The help defense, Davon and others, and Derek, of course, the help defense was really good, where all we kept seeing in the first half was back to the basket or drive to the basket for the Sacramento Kings, loose ball in the middle of that painted area or right outside of the painted area, and Beverly or Maxey or Melton picking it up and pushing the pace the other way for a transition opportunity.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, the Kings really got the Sixers out in transition a lot. Sometimes from those deep threes, sometimes from those loose balls that the Sixers were able to get, sometimes from those kick-out passes that the Sixers jumped the passing lanes and were off to the races. The Sixers, with one very notable exception in the fact that they gave up 23 offensive rebounds to the Kings. Outside of that, they played really good defensively. And look, is it aided by the fact that the Kings shot 8 for 38 from 3? Yes, of course. Whenever another team gets 38 threes up, some of them are going to be high-quality ones.
Yeah.
They were just off from the perimeter. It happens. Kings honestly almost look like a team that were on a back-to-back, except they weren't on a back-to-back. They had last night off, but they played that way. It just seemed like they were coming up short and they didn't have the legs on some of these shots. That being said, even acknowledging that, maybe the Sixers got some luck in shooting variance, they also created a lot of luck with those turnovers, with getting those loose balls, like I said, which not only helped their defense, but got them out in transition and offense. It was a real good defensive performance without your anchor. And again, I think Paul Reed struggled in his first stint in the first quarter. I thought he then picked it up afterwards. And quite frankly, we haven't even talked about it. We got to get to Mo Bamba because all of a sudden he's turned into like a legit player these past 2 games when none of us believed he could be. And quite frankly, I still don't believe he will be in the future. But we have to acknowledge that he's playing very good, very spirited basketball right now. And he gave them some presence at the rim defensively as well that they needed.
He also had a few mistakes early on where it was like, get him out of the game. But then he came back in the second half, not rebounding the basketball, but rebounded from the subpar play early on and played really well down the stretch where, if you notice, folks, he finished the game when the subs came in. Mo Bamba was the one down the stretch with the starters to close out the game. Between he and Paul Reed, 7 block shots tonight for your center position. 3 for Reed, 4 for Mo Bamba off the bench. He had 11 points. Bree was going nuts when he was knocking down a 3-point shot, Mo Bamba, because we know that he can do that. And when he's feeling good, he's confident. He's not even thinking. He's just doing it. So an overall really good performance by him. The bull RJ in the chat, as we were talking about Tyrese Maxey and his driving to the basket, he says, Devon, the Sixers, get the worst whistle ever.
I mean, they do have Joel Embiid grifting for fouls. Like, they do get some calls.
He definitely gets the calls. Yeah, he definitely gets the calls. But to your point, RJ, tonight, there were some questionable ones when Tyrese was driving to the basket and finishing at the rim. The acrobatic attempts. There was one where he went body to body and he was really complaining. I actually thought there was no foul because Keegan Murray went up, straight up. Tyrese kind of, because he's so good with adjusting his body midair, he went basically up to go body to body, but with him also gliding away as I glide the microphone away. You see how I did that? Glide the microphone away from the basket and gliding himself away from the basket to avoid the length of Murray. He then takes himself really away because Murray wasn't coming down to try to knock the ball out of his hands and hit his wrist or anything. So I thought that was a no call, but the others really, other than that, I thought there were actually some fouls.
You're a professional when you're trying to mimic a basketball move and have the presence of mind to bring the microphone.
It's like the Matrix.
Yeah.
You can do that overall. We should make that a clip.
That's what decades at a radio station does for a guy.
Overall, but no, I thought he was phenomenal. Again, finished with 21, but it really doesn't tell the story. 5 for 15. Good shots, though. Really good shots. The finishing at the rim, a couple of those wouldn't have been shot attempts had he got to the free throw line. It would have upped that number from the 6 that he had to maybe 10 or 8 to 10. And knock those down to about 5 for 13. Good looks overall. I thought even when we discussed the other day about him adjusting to what they're giving him, driving, staying away from the trees, interior, pulling up and taking a mid-range jumper. He had a couple of those. One of them was really tough against the shot clock, shooting over Harrison Barnes. He had another where he did the same over Keegan Murray, where he drilled it, and it was a really good shot. I think he got an and one on that one. He was really good despite the fact that it was a 5 for 15 performance. I also thought that with him, just in general, the defense on the ball, off the ball, he was really good tonight. And as the chat mentioned with Bernard earlier, and you talked about it, just opened the floor for others to do what they did. Got Melton some good looks for some shots. He got Paul Reed some good touches.
He did.
It was just up to Paul Reed to decide whether it was going to be a pass or an opportunity to finish at the rim. And that's where, while the assist numbers were low at 4, he gave them good looks.
No, he really did. And that's a growth area of his game going forward. I think he's been a better passer this year than maybe I would have expected. There's still another step or two where he can really leverage his speed and his scoring threat to create shots for his teammates. I thought this was one night, even though he only ended up the night with 4 assists. I thought this was one night really he really did that, and he really did create those shots.
9 assists in the loss against the Hawks with the 35 in that one, and 4 tonight. But again, the impact was there, though. They made their shots, but he also created extra shots and created space for Tobias Harris to do his work. Love this from George Gardner there in the chat. Don't forget, folks, to like and subscribe. Love it. Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Hope you're liked and subscribed as well.
Well, and not only that, like George, if you subscribe, you can then interact with us in the chat. We try to interact with you as the show goes on, read comments, respond to comments. You can only do that if you are a subscriber to the PHLY Sports YouTube page. So go check that out. I don't want to steal your thing because that's the end of the thing. But hit the bell icon at the top so you get notifications.
Ding.
We'll do the ding again at the end. That's sort of a thing to close the show with. But please do. Like I said, we will interact with you as much as we can. Probably a little bit too much. We quite frankly get distracted at time with the chat, but we do enjoy it.
And Kyle Neubeck will join us a little bit later. And if you're off on Monday, folks, again, Houston, good team coming into town. The Houston Rockets played the Detroit Pistons tonight, and they had a nail bite this one, 2-point win in Detroit. And I was watching the game cast as we were watching the Sixers and all, and it was like, oh, Detroit's up pretty big over Houston. They were giving them a run, but the Sixers had a big win over Houston earlier a couple of weeks ago. Marcus Morris with a big 4-point play to help close out and lock up that win. Houston in town Monday afternoon, and if you have the day off and you said, what am I going to do on my day off? Well, you know what? It's going to be Martin Luther King Day. The NBA is going to be celebrating the day with a bunch of games, and the Sixers playing at 1 o'clock. You need some last-minute tickets? I got the place for you. Make sure you head over to Game Time because buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful at all, and Game Times make sure that is not the case. It's fast and easy. They have the very easy way for you to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with the killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you'll have. Flash deals on last-minute tickets. Images of the seat views. You don't want a bad sight line. You want a good sight line. So make sure on your Game Time app, they will show you exactly where your seats will be. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. An example for myself, oftentimes when I travel in the past to Phoenix, now to Brooklyn, I get tickets sent to me, right? Well, sometimes since that game is a little bit closer in Brooklyn, I might be like, you know what? Last minute, let me head up to Brooklyn, and I didn't get a chance to say, send me a ticket. I go right to my Game Time app and check it out. Why? Because I get, again, the images of the seats. I don't have to plan months in advance. I can do it right there on the spot as I decide to drive up 95. Well, somebody else is driving, and I'm doing the ticket app on my phone. Get exclusive deals on the tickets for football, baseball, basketball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price, and if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you with 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app like I have, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hope to see you there on Monday, folks, for that 1 o'clock game. Then you get the Birds later on. Maybe you do the Sixers game earlier, get a flight down to Tampa, and you get 2-1. Look at that. Look at that. Dedicated.
Good luck with that.
I know. You're right.
Spiffy McZender in the chat mentioning that the Kings played like Cutter tonight. They didn't want to be in Philly. Wonder how long those jokes will be made.
That is a pretty good one. Yeah. That's a pretty good handle too. I like that.
It's pretty spiffy.
That is pretty spiffy. Good job by you. By the way, if you like our hats and you like the hoodies that we've had on in the past, make sure you go to PHLYLocker.com. We have some new merchandise there. We have our PHLY Sixers hoodies. You have your PHLY Eagles hoodies, and the hot selling hockey hoodie right there for one fantastic Russian that's going to be in town. I don't know when, sooner rather than later. But Michkov is talk of the town on the hockey side, even though Cutter Gauthier also helped out in that regard as well. But the Flyers guys have you taken care of. But we have PHLYLocker.com with those great hoodies. You can get the hoodies that you've seen on us in the past, and even this dad hat that I currently have on that's available now, PHLY hats on the PHLYLocker.com. You can get the golf hat, the dad hat, the flat brim hat, or the trucker hat. Go to PHLYLocker.com to get yours so we can match when we see you, maybe out at some of these events. I already have my dibs on our hoodie for the show hoodie.
Okay.
Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, I placed an order. I haven't gotten a shipping notification yet.
Yeah,
come on,
same.
guys, get on it.
Yeah, we know some people. We might as
We
well.
might know some people. It's
Yeah.
not helping us out though.
That's very
I still
true.
had to pay for it, and it still hasn't shipped. So,
Well, listen, man. Again, Kyle Neubeck will join us a little bit later. Some of the other things when we talk about the bench in general, Patrick Beverley was really good tonight with the minutes that he was out there on the floor.
First of all, his defensive energy and effort was tremendous. Every now and then that comes with a silly foul, but that's fine when you get the kind of effort that he gave you in this one. And he just continues to find really creative, really crafty ways to finish near the rim that I just adore. It tickles me that somebody with so little burst, so little pop around the rim can find ways to just get shots up and have them be quality shots. As an aging adult, it makes me think that maybe my YMCA floater can develop into my later years.
Hey, man, it's there, Derek. I'm telling you, go for it.
No, he was real good. Batum's obviously a starter, but he, as a role player, he was incredible.
After we questioned him in the Hawks game.
Yeah, he wasn't great in that one.
Yeah.
Bamba was very good. It was a pretty good performance up and down outside of I don't really have a Marcus Morris moment of the night. Outside of him, I thought there was a real good bench game too.
Yeah, he played well. He just didn't shoot well because he had good looks. I questioned him on one shot.
I don't love a lot of those shots. Like there was one shot
he came down.
He brought the ball down the floor and immediately went into like a mid post
back down
fade away, and I was like, "What are you doing, Marcus?"
Yeah, he went full back down mode.
It's not
right there.
2015. Like you can't be doing that with 18 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah, he didn't have the touch tonight like he did in the game on Wednesday. Did receive the key to the city. He and Markieff, I believe, they did. But Markieff, of course, was playing for the Dallas Mavericks, so he couldn't be there. And it was put on City Hall, giving them the key. I know some of the people involved in it. My good friend Mike Morak, a big part of that. That's the Danny Rumpf Classic that you know everyone knows about. And congratulations to him. And the bench, though, to see these type of performances, this is what you want from the team. And I wanted to ask you this because we often talk about the backup point guard minutes, and Tyus Jones looks like off the table based on what our good friend Jake Fisher in his story in his piece wrote from Yahoo Sports. Maybe too high of a price that Washington is asking for to acquire Tyus Jones as the backup here in Philadelphia. Maybe can still look at that team, try to plug DeLon Wright. We mentioned Monte Morris. We talked about TJ McConnell in the past. There's some other backup point guards out there. But when he does play this type of game and have these, and he's done this has been a really good stretch for Patrick Beverley overall with his performances. Does it give you a little bit of a pause if they're unable to acquire one? And I would think that they could still get one. However, if they were unable to acquire one of the names that we talk about, some of these backup point guards, how would you feel if he's there, but to the point of us talking about a Bogdanovich, Caruso, et cetera, those types of names, but Beverley is still the other ball handler if they can't get that traditional backup point?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been super intrigued or super focused on having a traditional backup point guard. And like Tyus Jones is a perfect example because, he's having a great season. He has struggled historically in the playoffs. And at his size, 6'1", a little generous in that, I never really was comfortable with him holding up defensively in the playoffs. He's always struggled with his offense in the playoffs. I didn't know if you could actually pencil him into a role in the playoffs. So I was never going to give a big asset to acquire Tyus Jones. If you can get him cheaply for like a second-round pick, sure. Okay, that's fine. But like a first-round pick, I just wasn't going to give up for a player that I had real questions whether or not he was playoff playable. What I care about much more is another shot creator, whether that's a wing, whether that's a combo guard, whatever. Just somebody else who can create off the dribble, who can get you into sets, who can create shots for his teammates. That's what I think they need more than a point guard per se. If it is somebody like, DeLon Wright might be a little different because I think he can defend multiple positions. I think he can hold up defensively at least in the playoffs. But I think they just need shot creation more than need a pure backup point guard. And
soon as we mention Tyus Jones, it's almost as if Kyle's ears start tingling or something, and he calls in live from the arena after a very good Sixers win over the Sacramento Kings, picking up their 24th win of the season. And Kyle Neubeck, it's almost as if you just heard us mention Tyus Jones and then you just appear.
I cannot believe that Derek would have me on the podcast right after slandering Tyus Jones. Just absolutely despicable stuff. So, I
I
have
mean,
it.
I'm fine getting him as a regular season minutes eater. Like we've been talking about it for a cheap price, sure. Just not
No,
real
I
assets.
know.
Not real
It's
assets.
just like, look, that's friend of the podcast, Tyus Jones, and yet I have to walk into you saying, no, they can't do. No, I'm totally with you. I think the reporting that's out there, we would all agree if it takes like real assets to get him, you move on and look at somebody else.
Yeah, no question about it. And one of the guys that we talked about in the past, maybe having to be involved in some of this, said, no, take my name off the table for at least tonight because I'm dropping 37 in the season high. Kyle, the most complete game, arguably, of the season for Tobias Harris with the 37. The defense was really good. The shot selection overall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, that was probably the best Tobias game of the season, best Tobias game we've seen in quite some time. And I think it's important to note that he started that game great on defense. Like one of the big keys of the game was his play against Domantas Sabonis, right? Like comes out, and we've seen him play against Marc Gasol in the playoffs. He's defended guys like Evan Mobley in Cleveland. Like has been a habit for him throughout his career in Philly that he steps up to that challenge. He can defend like true big men, and so he got off on a really good start there. And I thought that led right into his offense, his aggressive play, and look, it's one of those nights where he just has it rolling. He did some things though that had some tough dunks over guys or around guys through contact that we don't normally see that. I also thought it was really nice for him. Like you guys know what it's been like for him in the city. Like it's been really hot and cold and mostly cold because of the contract. So to see him get or hear him get the Toby chants and people basically begging for him to get his 40 ball, which obviously he got mocked a little bit by his teammates for missing a few shots there at the end to not get the 40. But it's a cool moment for him, cool moment from the crowd. And they really needed it because this has been a tough little stretch for them without Joel. So big step up night from Tobias.
Did Nick talk at all about what went into the decision to have him on Sabonis to start?
No, we didn't get into that a whole lot. As far as we know, the game plan as a whole was installed at shoot around today, and the Sixers were just kind of like, "Oh, okay, we got to roll with it." Tobias had the secret to, executing a game plan, doing some new stuff that was delivered today was a good nap in the middle of the day. So I don't know if anybody out there has the luxury of taking naps at their job, but maybe your productivity and your two-way play will go up if you're able to get a nap, a little siesta at 2:00, 3:00 or so.
Well, he looked really decisive with the things that he was doing. Just not thinking about it. We've talked about the coaches in the past that have asked him to just simply just go and do it, and let the chips fall where they may. You spoke about the dunks that he's had because there are many times where we've all watched the games together and we're like, go up stronger and finish. Kyle, had two back-to-back and ones because of one strong layup and then the dunk baseline, one hand, and another great pass where someone dropped it off to him. He had a two-handed dunk, and even an offensive rebound where he didn't think about kicking it back out. He just grabbed it, kept it high, and went up and got the finish. Decisive.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been the key with him, right? In every way that impacts a basketball game. I just think played with an edge throughout the night, like gets a couple of offensive rebounds where he's going at people, attacking the glass, getting good positioning, things of that nature. So I think Tobias, I have Sixers PR coming in here. I don't know if I'm in trouble or not right now. We'll see. So for Tobias to be the aggressor basically all night, to not allow the Kings to set the tone in basically any way, that's I'd say 75% of the victory tonight because he came out and led in that way and everybody else followed, including, guys like Mo Bamba, who Mo has had a lot of struggles here, but even he came out. Actually, it's almost damning with faint praise where Nick said, Mo can do a lot of things when he plays hard, essentially was the message. And the real message there is that he doesn't often play hard. So that's that's normally the problem. But yeah, I think that all starts with Tobias coming out, playing the way he did, and then everybody else has got to follow that example.
I was just gonna say, like, what transpired to turn Mo into Bill Russell? That was my next question.
Yeah, 4 block shots like Bill Russell, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was the rim protection, there was the rebounding. There were multiple times tonight where his pursuit of rebounds led to fouls by the Sacramento Kings. Like, and that shows that you have to be going hard after a ball. You're going after contested rebounds. That's not a ball that's just falling to you. That's Mo Bamba saying, I'm the tallest MFer on the floor. I'm going to go get it. And so that's, I mean, look, that's been the knock on him for years and years, dating back to when he's an amateur player, right? Is guys got these great tools. Maybe he struggles in space, but if he just had the motor running all the time, there's enough there that he can be I don't know about an impact guy, but at least like a competent NBA role player for sure. There's a floor there that he should be able to set. So I don't know. Maybe this is what it looks like if Mo can get into that headspace, get into that aggression more often. But been a good week for him. I thought he had we talked about his strong overtime in Atlanta the other night. So whatever they got to do to keep him going, just get this Mo Bamba every night would be awesome for them.
I thought he got jobbed on that dunk attempt where he smacked Harrison Barnes in the face. I understand what they were saying when they looked at the review and overturned the call, but I thought it was a weak call.
Yeah, it was so deep into the game and they're winning by so much at that point. I was like, I'm not really going to watch 17 replays of a contested foul call, just it is what it is.
No, yeah. Maxey, even though he shot 5 for 15, just an overall good game in general. Didn't get a few calls that it seemed like he wanted driving to the rim, but he was undeterred and kept doing exactly what we've seen from him, which is attack the basket and try to finish.
Yeah, well, so the big storyline for me coming to that game with Tyrese was they blitzed him pretty frequently. Like, he doesn't see that type of coverage that often, and he admitted that after the game. I thought he handled that really well. Like, didn't have a lot of shot attempts tonight, and I thought had a good, didn't have a ton of assists, wasn't like a big stat padding night, but thought it was a good floor game all the same, making the right decisions, getting to the right spots, gets a few threes to go down. So look, it's not the 40-point game, the 30-plus point game that maybe we're hoping for as like, that's a breakout Tyrese game without Joel. But it's almost more important that he did this and had this type of game because it shows a maturity to say, okay, Tobias has it going. Let's play through him, run through him a lot more. They're blitzing me. I'm going to find the open man. And, to circle back to Mo Bamba and Paul Reed, I thought the bigs responded well too. They got to spots where Tyrese could hit them. Then they're playing 4-on-3, and the Sixers were able to generate a ton of open threes, open shots because of that. So, good job all around dealing with the coverage that, frankly, they don't see as a group all that often.
All right, last one for me, and then I can let you out of here. It is the injury update portion of the show. Does Joel Embiid still have 2 working knees?
I mean, if he did, wouldn't he be playing tonight? It seems like he's clearly not at 100%.
Are his knees closer to being functional?
He was at least on the bench tonight.
He was on the bench, yeah.
Yeah, so the word from Nick Nurse prior to the game was that he's getting closer to practicing, which means he's getting closer to playing, but it feels like it's been a day-to-day thing for quite a few days. Yeah, so it's like at a certain point, we have to sit here and say, yeah, this is a bit concerning. So the fact that we haven't gotten it, like any kind of real diagnosis or label for this.
Swelling like is a symptom. What is causing the swelling? Yeah.
Yeah. So that to me is the big red flag. Speaking of injury stuff, Kelly Oubre I asked about after the game because he was a late scratch tonight. I know he's not as important as Joel, to put it lightly, but Nick says he's been dealing with a toe issue for a bit, hadn't impacted his ability to play or practice, but went out in warm-ups tonight and jammed it. And when he went back with the trainers, they tried several different ways of taping it, and just didn't work, wasn't good enough to go. So they don't think it's a long-term thing. They weren't overly concerned about it, but just another injury or piece of pain at least to monitor in the coming days.
Well, hopefully they can get better over these course of these 2 days off, Saturday and Sunday, and back at it for the early 1 o'clock game, Kyle, on Monday, 1 o'clock against the Houston Rockets. Well, we'll see you then, man. Have a great rest of your weekend, and be safe. It's raining out there now, man. So, yeah, it wasn't raining when you got there, but now it's pouring again. You got the rain jacket with the hoodie?
I got the hooded rain jacket, and I hate to give them promo, but it's not free this time. Got to go give these headphones back to Austin Krell because I forgot my AirPods at home.
He finds a way to get on every show. I don't know how he does it.
Listen,
a glorious self-promoter.
I have to thank Austin this time, very genuinely. So I will. I'll see you boys on Monday, and everybody else enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Kyle Neubeck. Make sure you go read his piece, his recap at PHLY.com. Always doing a fantastic job. Of course, sitting here with us where we have good conversations, and certainly at the game, writing the recap of what happened in the game. And he spoke about two things specifically, like Derek did, starting off with Tobias Harris's defense to really kickstart how this game went for.
He really did. He
Tobias
stole
Harris's
my
points.
opening for his opening. It's like he was listening to the show.
It's almost like he listened.
If he's listening in on the show in the middle of a press conference, it's impressive multitasking.
That is. And that's dedication to what we have going on here overall for him to be doing that. And then he talked about the blitzing that Maxey faced, as we talked about, just playing a good game overall, good floor game, even though the assist numbers weren't high. The floor game was good. He handled it well. He only had in the game 3 turnovers, and a few of them you're like, all right, Tyrese, those are uncharacteristic of what you typically do. But in general, it didn't hurt them at all. Over on the night, the team had 13 to the Kings 16. The Sixers scored. Pardon me. The Sixers had 14 turnovers to the Kings 17. Sixers scored 29 points off of the Kings turnovers, where the Kings were only able to manufacture 14 off of the Sixers' mistakes. So that's just good stuff overall.
No, they converted points real well.
Yeah, They did. Their defense was so strong. The Kings shot 33.7%, and Derek talked about it earlier. Only 8 made threes on 38 attempts for 21% from that group.
Yeah. Yep.
Good performance. Good defensive performance. Held their all-stars to 14 and 21. And while Sabonis shot well, he was almost just not.
He had one shot in the first half.
Yeah.
It was wild. Yeah. No, I think he came out and had a couple turnovers, tried to act as a facilitator. I think the Sixers did a good job in their team defense on top of Tobias Harris doing a good job standing him up. It was a real nice performance against a team that's typically really tough to guard.
Yep.
And again, would the tune be a little different if they came out and shot like a normal percentage from 3? Yeah, but I think we'd still sit here and say they were active on defense. They were communicating and rotating well. They did, I think, a good job.
They really did. 2 days off, Saturday and Sunday, which will allow you all to get into your football mode, some basketball mode, and do what you need to do.
I can get pre-angry for Monday.
You could. Derek can get pre-angry for Monday. We'll try to calm him down maybe with a decent game against the Rockets on Monday afternoon.
And then come out and meet us after that at the watch party. I'll tell you what, for the first 5 people that come up to me, I will get you a beverage before the game starts. So come on, stop by.
Look at that.
Talk some basketball, commiserate with some Eagles fans, and we will see you there.
Look at that generosity. I don't know that I'm paying for 5, but Derek can pay for 5. But we'll make sure we take care of you. Come on by, hang out with us, and see what the Birds do. And you get to meet the entire crew, and certainly the Eagles guys, Jamie and Bo, starting at 7:45 at Wicked Wolf. All right, we got a lot of people to thank.
Yeah, we do.
Here tonight after this good win where the Sixers. Oh, by the way, we had another super chat.
Oh, yeah.
Davon had another one.
Not much of a question, but we will certainly give him his shout out. Yeah.
Said Nurse must have kicked their tails in practice.
It was a much better effort. It was a much better effort.
Much better effort. You were at practice? Yeah. Yesterday. Mm-hmm. How did it feel after based on what they said? Did he kick their tails?
No, actually, they had off yesterday.
They had off yesterday. Yeah. You were there earlier in the week.
Yeah.
He did say they were going to kick their tails on Monday.
No,
right?
Monday was the training camp lake practice.
Yeah. So, Davon, we agree with you. So, with that, we appreciate you for your 2 super chats. We appreciate Bernard as well. And we got to get into the other
want to
folks.
mention Spirit 42, Winona, Demonic, Jay of the Jungle, Furious, Davon, Money Mar, Al. I guess we'll mention Austin Krell, Sal,
He provided
Brian
the
Knight.
headphones, man.
No, look, Austin's a good guy. We just like picking on him.
Yeah,
Might like attention a little bit too much, but he's in the right industry at least for that.
that's true.
Sal, Brian Knight, George, Phil Evans, Riza, Marvizone, Corey, Charlie, 2 Minute Warning, Eric, James, Stewart, Spiffy McZender. I'm glad we got to that one. Tafka
Love it.
Yams, Fresh Prince 215.
What up, Fresh
many,
Prince?
Many more. We appreciate all of you. If you want to get in on chat, like I said, we try to interact with the chat during the live show. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification
Ding.
to get or hit the bell icon to get notifications. Join us during the shows. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Aggressive Tobias Harris is the best Tobias Harris.
Absolutely.
And that's what we got tonight. Sal said it in the chat, and it was a perfect way for us to end this one. For Derek and Kyle and Bree, I'm Devon, and we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight and all week long. Make sure if you missed any of the episodes throughout the week, you can go back and check them out, of course, on YouTube. Find us, tell a friend to tell another friend, and then the other friend, and keep all the friends involved because we're building something here. This community is pretty fun, and we love talking to you. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your football, your basketball, the weather in general. Be safe, and we'll talk to you for a post-game Monday afternoon after the Sixers 1 o'clock game against the Houston Rockets. We'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.